Aloha and welcome. In this video, we're going to be talking about storage, network, and compute security controls. So we're going to start off with a definition of compute. So compute is the term that refers to the collective cloud resources required to meet a cloud customer's computational needs. So a compute resource, it's a measurable quantity of compute power that can be requested, allocated, and consumed in computations. So some of the things that you can consider as compute are the CPU, the GPU, and RAM compute resources. So there's four different types that's available. One is the vCPU, one is the vRAM, one is virtual networking, and one is cloud storage. So much like their physical counterparts, vCPU, that's going to be the virtualized CPU. It's just a portion of the host machine CPU that can be made available to the guest machine. Likewise, vRAM is the portion of RAM that you can make available to a guest machine on the host. And then we've got virtual networking, which is, as you'd expect, the computer network that you can make available to a guest machine for virtualization. Cloud storage. Cloud storage is it's basically a cloud resource where a cloud service provider stores, manages, and operates cloud customers' data. So you have something also called dynamic resource allocation, DRA. This is a very important topic. So this is the automatic provisioning, deprovisioning of cloud resources based on demand. I've mentioned this before in previous episodes where we were talking about the benefits of cloud computing. The idea is that you're able to scale up quickly, so you can dynamically allocate these resources and scale up when you need it. So as you need more and more compute power, you can just go ahead and spin up more instances or use more resources. So that's very important. So this is known as dynamic resource allocation, DRA. We also have cloud security controls. So within here, you've got backup type of or redundancy issues. So remember when you set up your cloud service, you usually set up availability zones and you pick regions and things like that. So these availability zones, they've interconnected these zones with high bandwidth, low latency, redundant network links that will make it robust in case of things like natural and man-made disasters. That could be earthquakes, tornadoes, fires, sabotage, nuclear war, whatever comes about. So the cloud resource, such as the virtual machine, it's usually associated with a resource policy and a hardware security module. So the resource policy, that specifies a cloud resource's authorized users, systems, and actions. And the hardware security module, the HSM, we talked about this before when we were talking about TPM as well. So the HSM is a tamper-resistant external device or plug-in expansion card that provides cryptographic services. So cloud provider uses an HSM to store a hardware device's certificate for authentication, cryptographic keys, and passwords. So they can offer these HSM services to cloud customers to enable their secrets management, which includes the secure storage of encryption keys and passwords. The good thing about cloud resources are they're auditable. Auditing is going to help cloud customers evaluate the effectiveness of the implemented security controls, and also, provides them a way of proving that they meet regulatory compliance. Should they have to prove that they're HIPAA compliant or FERPA compliant or something like that, or federal government has FedRAMP compliancy as well. So next, we're going to talk about cloud resource security controls. So cloud resource access is controlled by security groups and instance awareness. So these are the two big terms we're going to have here. Security group. So the security group is a security control for associating several cloud users with a resource policy. So a security group acts as a virtual firewall for a cloud resource. The example they use is a security group is assigned a resource policy disabling TCP port 23 to prevent a telnet connection to a cloud resource. And then we were talking about instance awareness. So an organization may run multiple simultaneous instances of a cloud service. For example, you could have several hundred instances of cloud storage service, such as Microsoft OneDrive. So this idea of instance awareness is a tool that provides cloud instance recognition to define and apply appropriate resource policies. So essentially, when you're connecting to your cloud resources, you've got a cloud user, their instance is associated with the resource policy, and that resource policy determines the access that they have within the cloud. We've also got virtual network security controls. So when we're talking about our connections, we usually have our on-premise network that connects through the internet to our VPCs, which is our virtual private clouds. So there's other ways of connecting as well. So you can provision a private direct connection to go to your VPC. And in doing so, you're going to use something called a VPC endpoint and a transit gateway. So the VPC endpoint, that's going to give you, it's going to be that point into your virtual private cloud, and it doesn't use a public address. But it gives you access to all your resources within the VPC. You're going to use a transit gateway to actually connect over to the on-premise network. So they've got some good examples of that in the participation activity within your textbook as well. We also have the cloud responsibility matrix that we need to talk about, and that really comes down to who is responsible for what. So you've gone out and you've acquired all these cloud resources, but who has the responsibility of doing different things with it? Who's got the responsibility of the infrastructure? Who's got the responsibility of the application, the data, the security and compliance, the backup and disaster recovery, the identity and access management, IAM that we talked about. So amongst all the different, so we've got IaaS, we've got PaaS, and we've got SaaS. So your infrastructure as a service. In that situation, infrastructure as a service, the provider is going to be taking care of the infrastructure for you. So you as a customer, you're going to have to take care of the application and data. And then you've got shared responsibility for the security and compliance, the backup and disaster recovery, and the identity and access management. For the platform as a service, the provider is providing that infrastructure, but you, again, are responsible for the application and the data. For the security and compliance, you share the responsibility there, but for backup and disaster recovery and the identity and access management, that's all on the provider. And then for software as a service, everything is up, it's all, dependent, it's all, the onus is on the provider to provide all of the infrastructure, application and data security, the security and compliance, the backup and disaster recovery, and the identity and access management. So that's all on the provider in a SaaS environment. So the way I want to wrap this up is in talking about the cloud-specific vulnerabilities. Cloud computing environments are vulnerable to various security risks. This is actually a relatively new topic on the Security Plus certification. This wasn't even a thing when I originally took mine, let's say 8 years ago or so, or 8 or 9 years ago. Cloud wasn't a thing, so we didn't have all these. But since we've had some experience in the meantime with cloud services, we also have discovered a lot of the issues that can happen. So cloud computing environments, they're vulnerable to various security risks, resource misconfiguration, which recently caused a big screw up, and Amazon AWS went down. When Amazon AWS went down for a day or two, services all over the place went down. We couldn't use our Brightspace Lamaku learning management system. We couldn't use Pearson, one of our vendors. Our students couldn't access that because it was dependent on AWS. Anybody that's using AWS compute resources, because that minor little misconfiguration that got propagated into more, resources, because of that, lots of services went down. It affected everybody. So, maybe not everybody, but it affected a lot of users out there. So, these little resource misconfigurations can screw things up. Insecure APIs can screw things up. You've got shared technology vulnerabilities. So improperly configured resources can expose sensitive data. It can bring down the internet, as we saw recently. Well, not the entire internet, but just a lot of the parts that you use. And insecure APIs can be exploited to gain access to cloud service management interfaces. So, yeah, we've got shared technology risks such as vulnerabilities in hypervisors and networking hardware. Those can lead to isolation failures and compromise the security and integrity of cloud resources. So we've got to be very careful when we're doing this stuff. We've really got to be, mindful of these security risks. We've got to have robust security measures. We need to have, regular security audits. We should do penetration testing, which is where you hire an outside firm to come in and try to get access to your, into your network. You also need incident response plans, for, when you have incidents. They have to, account for the scalability and the distributed nature of your cloud resources as well. So there's a lot that you need to take into, account when you're doing these when you're using the cloud for your services. So let's go ahead and review. In this section, we went over compute resources. We talked about vCPUs, vRAM, virtual network, and cloud storage. We talked about dynamic resource allocation, where we can spin up and spin down as needed to reduce cost and always keep our infrastructure available. We talked about cloud security controls. We talked about resource policies and hardware security modules, the HSMs. We talked about cloud resource security controls. We talked about security groups, instance awareness. We talked about VPC endpoints and transit gateways and creating that private direct connection to your VPC. We talked about the cloud responsibility matrix and who's responsible for what when you're using IaaS or PaaS or SaaS. And then we finished up with just a talk about the cloud-specific vulnerabilities. So that's it for this section. If you have any questions, reach out. I'm always happy to help. Aloha.